Everybody, and welcome to an exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I am delighted to be talking with author and artist Sophie Escabasse. Sophie, thank you for joining me and talking with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very, very happy to be here with you today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I've enjoyed your work, The Witches of Brooklyn, and I think I've seen your work in a couple of other places too. I think I've ran across your name in a variety of places. Um, so we'll get started with kind of a general question that I like to share and start out with, which is why comics? What drew you to creating in the world of comics?
Mm, I guess, a bit like in this graphic novel, French-Belgian graphic novel, Asterix and Obelix, like the character Obelix, I kind of fell into a graphic novel when I was a child.
Hmm.
My dad was a collector. And so really I grew up like reading, all the classics, French and Belge, like Yakari, Spirou et Fantasio, Boule et Bill, Joanne et Pierre-Louis, all those and loved them. And then moved on to, Tardy, Moebius, Causet, Bourgeon, all that. So really I was very lucky because I fell into it. I didn't have to search for that kind of food. It was there when I arrived. So um, yeah, I guess you could say that graphic novel always been in my life. And and plus it's the best medium of storytelling
Hmm.
ever.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like Hollywood without the need of the big budget and with the intimacy and the pleasure of the book format and you can do the voiceover yourself, so they always sound perfect. And no, graphic novel is amazing. And having grown up, with that at hand, it kind of came naturally to me also to tell stories in that way. And yeah, so when I was finally ready to give it a try, it kind of, I mean, I surprised myself. It was like, because at first I thought that I would never been able to put up, I mean, to make it happen. And then it did, it came naturally, I guess you could tell.
Yeah, yeah. I was just talking with Eduardo Ferragamo in Brazil, and
Mm-hmm.
he was saying some of the very similar trends, very similar themes of the family story.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing comics with father or family member. I had that as well growing up. My parents got me comics growing up, and we went to see the movies and things like that. And he was also talking about the low budget creation of worlds and
Yes.
how, yeah, you don't have to go to a soundstage. You go to a
Yeah.
page or a computer screen, and you can absolutely create the
Yeah.
kind of universe that you want.
Exactly. And that's contrary to movies, when you have a graphic novel, you're in your bubble, and you can pace the rhythm. It's like if you want to go back, take your time on one panel, you can. It's really unique.
Yeah, no. So were comics your initial link to reading and writing? Were there other things that inspired you and continue to inspire you along the way?
I mean, my mother is still a ferocious reader. I mean, the woman literally read one book a day and it's pretty impressive. And so I've always had that example of, someone who's an avid reader, and she read to me when I was a child. Thing that I did myself with my kids. I think it's really an amazing way to bond with your loved one and to pass on the love for books and uh, and also, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the best thing of being a human is to tell stories and being able to you know uh, share that with your kids. It's fantastic. It's great.
And
So
books are, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep, yeah, what
I
were
was
you
just
going?
gonna say I love books as well because it's a human talking to another human across time, across space, and saying in a way you're not alone or here's something interesting that I found. I
Yeah.
love that aspect of it.
Yeah, and it really helps develop empathy as well. It's like all of a sudden, bam, you're in the head of someone else. You are like hearing the thoughts of someone else and seeing the world through their eyes. I mean, it's just can get any better than that. And with
And
graphic novel, you have the, the art as well, not only the words, but you also like immerse into someone else's art and vision, and that's also very unique to graphic novel.
it transcends the written language in a
Yep.
way. It's its own written
Yeah,
language.
it has an immediacy that words don't have, like and for humor, for instance, like all the books I read when I was a kid, all those graphic novels had a lot of humor in it. And that's
Mm,
something that really illustration lets you do, is just those jokes, this like, facial expression, body attitudes, all that, all things that prose only could not convey. But with the image, you're just, and it's instant, you see the face, you see the body going, oh, and you laugh,
mm,
and it makes
mm.
you giggle right away. So yeah, I really, really love graphic novels for that too, like how it can communicate humor.
Uh, As do I. And your series that you're probably best known for is Witches of Brooklyn,
Mhm.
where you get to practice some of those things and you get to share some of those things and you get to merge youth and the fantastic and all of these elements. So how did that series come to be?
Oh, it's I mean, when I had my first child, that's when really like things I kind of revamped my life and things starting like, I put it, priority, redesign my priorities. And back then I was working in advertising and that wasn't working for me anymore. I mean, it's like too many long hours and too, I mean, it wasn't working anymore. So I started freelancing and bringing back illustration and creation at the center of my life.
Mm,
And eventually I met the lady who's my agent today, and she's amazing. And that's really showed me that you never do anything by yourself. It's you need people to help you along the way, even if it's just a conversation in a cafe with someone that you will never see again. It's like we need others. Anyway, so
mhm.
Kelly was really like the person who, yeah, just challenged me. She did. She was like, yeah, you have ideas, girl, and you have that in your drawer, and I'm going to help you make a pitch together. And she's, yeah, she had great advice, and she believed in me. And so yeah, we did that, and bim bam boom, it worked out. It worked out, and I'm amazed by how well the book has been received,
A
and to see
beautiful
these
book.
characters, going from one adventure to another, from book to
Mhm.
book is I feel very, very lucky. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so wonderful for young readers to be able to pick up one book and then travel to another and another. Was it having children? Was it that time of your life that led you to create in that sort of area?
I guess so. Yeah, I'm really, kind of following my kids. I have mid graders, like 13, 11, and 8 years old. So it's like good study cases I'm at home, and I see, what worries them and what they talk about. So I definitely use all that and put it into my books and my characters. And it's also a way to talk to them, and to let them know what's important for me. And it's like the advice that the witches are giving to Effie are also the kind of things that I tell my kids and the kids in general.
Mm,
So it's also great to have like, that possibility to touch that many kids. And for instance, like in the third book of the witches, I'm talking about how trees are important and how we should all worship trees. Trees are working for free for us every day, making the air that we breathe free of all this, so it's, yeah, those kind of little things, little messages like that.
mm, mm.
um yeah.
I love the design of the characters. I love the visual aspect of it, the visual world you create. It's so inviting. Um, for readers that enjoy Witches of Brooklyn, do we have other things that we can check out? Anything that you want to share about that's in the works, or anything else that's out there in the world of publishing for readers that want to learn a little bit more?
You mean that I did myself, or stuff that I really like and that I will advise kids to look at?
Well, I was actually thinking that you did yourself,
Oh, okay.
but we can take
I
it in both directions if you'd like.
The Witches of Brooklyn is my first series that I did all myself and like writer and illustrator on that. I illustrated a very cool series called Derby Daredevil by Kit Rosewater that I would invite you to check out because it's really great. And I'm working on the new book right now that will
Wonderful.
not involve the witches. It takes place in Montreal, the city where I moved recently with my family, and yeah, and I'm having fun with. I mean, it's a bit bizarre to be working with different characters. I feel like
Yeah.
cheating a little bit, uh,
Hmm.
but it was great to focus on the city where I live. I would advise that to anyone who's moving to a new place. Just make a book on that place. You'll see it's really a nice way to make the city your own. So yeah, I learned a lot, and it's interesting. It's interesting to be working on something a bit different and not having like the witch's voice in my head because I've been living with these characters for like a couple of years now, really like
Hmm.
immersing myself completely. So they're like, um, you know, imaginary friend always talking in my head. So it's interesting not to have them that close by anymore. Though I can still hear silly men like, you know, whining about the fact that I don't give her enough attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll get to see a graphic novel, not tour book, but a city-based graphic novel with some nice fiction that's woven in.
Mm-mm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
It sounds like much more to look forward to. Are you a digital creator? Do you prefer the paper medium, or do you do a blend of
I
both?
I I've tried to start working digitally completely to save me the old scanning pages phase, but it doesn't work. So I do work on paper, and that's how I really like, you know, lay it out, and then I scan everything and ink and color digitally because it saves a lot of time, and it also let me work from anywhere because I do that on my iPad, which, you know, being a mom of three, it it let me, like, you know, hand my work on time.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say you're a family, I'm sure, on the go, and I mean, I'm a high school teacher, so I get to see the busy lives that people lead and the multiple things that people do. So
Yeah,
nice to have a style and a way of working that's mobile, I guess.
yeah, and it also, like, you know, forces me to have like rigor in a sense because I'm not someone who's rigorous at all usually, but it's like when your window of time, the time you have to work is like so limited, you kind of have to be productive, you know.
Mm.
And I mean, it's always the old question: is that better or not to work under constraint? But when you don't have choice, you make it work. So I do.
Absolutely, and it's the joy and the balance and the beauty and all the things.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because the fact that I can't work whenever I want because I have a family and I need to take care of them as well makes it all the more precious when I can work, you know. So each time I sit down with my drawings, I'm like, yeah, my characters and we're doing this. So I guess
It's
one
a
is
good
feeling
flow.
the other.
Yeah. And I've heard some of the secrets of writing and creating are finding the time of day, finding the spot in the house or the place that you work best in, all of those sort of rituals that creators go
Mhm.
through. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to find rituals. It's a bit difficult because we've been moving the last 3 years. We've been moving every year. So, but you know, I manage. I have my cat because that's the constant point. He's always nearby.
mhm. And I'm sure that enriches the writing and creating because now you have a book that you're working on that takes in this new place.
True, true.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's creating a bubble, really. You know, finding the headspace and yeah, as soon as, you know, the first bricks are placed, it kind of goes by itself, you know, when the characters, when I have the characters in my head and when they start talking, usually I've won, you know. It's just like I just have to follow them and to let them talk and see where it goes. I
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not those kind of writer who have the whole storyline ready, or I mean, I let things come to me and then I add the structure at the end. You know, if I have a couple of scenes that make me laugh or a scene that I'm like, okay, oh, there's some emotion there, it works. And I
Mm.
love the characters, you know, I will keep all that and then I will add the structure, you know, like, okay, now let's make a story with all these ingredients that are yummy. That's how I work.
Very cool process. Very cool. And we get to enjoy the benefits.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I know you have a website. I want to make sure that I mention that, and we'll tag it in the description. Any other upcoming events or anything that you'd like to broadcast as part of the tour?
Yeah, I mean, there's like May is the month of the graphic novel here in Montreal, in Quebec. So there's a lot of events around graphic novel in the province. There's the Montreal Graphic Novel Festival coming up at the end of May, 26, 27, 28. I'll be tabling there and signing books. Other than that, other events, not really. No, I guess I'll be probably, I hope, in New York for the launch of the next book, early fall, because the next Witches of Brooklyn is coming out September 5. So maybe a tour early October. We'll see. Nothing's set quite yet, but probably big chances are.
Sounds like things ahead, many things ahead. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and join an episode, and glad to share about your work. And I know that you have some busy family time to get back to, so I won't
Thank you.
keep you. But wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for joining me.
But thank you, Jason. Thank you. Thanks a lot.